Hello and welcome to the Dungeon Masters Guild House. This is a weekly podcast back for season 2, and I sit down and chat with people all across the tabletop RPG and DMsGuild space. And this week, I'm joined by Darren Kenny. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. How are we doing this week?
I'm doing great, actually. Doing really great.
Yeah. No, I must admit, I was chatting the other day where I kind of mentioned that now after Christmas and the holidays are over, it's like a big period of like. You have so much you want to do, and then family and stuff. You spend time relaxing that you really don't get too much work done. And then I feel like the first 2 weeks in January, that's some prime crunch.
Really, yeah, everything you were procrastinating on and all the ideas you were just like sitting around on, you're like, okay, now.
Yeah, I think it's like you touched on something. The idea that like because you kind of have to take time off over like the holidays, it actually is a good time to kind of like gestate on some ideas and kind of. Yeah, let them percolate. I don't know, like a fine wine.
At least 3 bad ideas that I was thinking like this would be great, and I was like, no, these are terrible. But I would have wasted my time on if I hadn't like sat around for Christmas on them.
Again, I don't want to put you on the spot, Ed, but any ideas you want to kind of throw out to like this? This was one that I decided was.
I thought it would be fun to make a collection of archetypes literally based on oozes. And it turns out there's just not much that oozes do.
Okay, so the fact that you say that and the fact that like before we even started recording, I was like trying to pull out we were chatting about like the question like what are you known for? And I mentioned just by an offhanded comment, you have to be really niche to become like the ooze guy.
I thought for a second I was like, you almost predicted my future. That was the dark path I could have went down.
But no, I see the trail of thought though, because like what is it? They have like the Jubulex? The sort of like that's kind of oozy, that kind of like
and that would have actually been the only good one. But besides that, you're just a guy who can turn to jello. So
yeah. I mean, what is it? They made Luigi's Mansion 3? That was like literally Guigi, I think. Like,
really?
Yeah. So basically, the whole game is kind of around the premise that you have normal Luigi, and then he can turn himself into like a goop version. I don't know. So maybe that idea's not so bad after all. Maybe it's got some legs.
I'm literally thinking now, what if we just took all the Nintendo nonsense and made a collection of that?
So it just it pivots. Ideas they just come flying. Maybe we should have a holiday, percolate over the idea.
Yeah. Rogue archetype, jump man. I love it. Let's go.
I don't know. Like I guess like jumping's on someone's head. Like if you were to give that mechanic, I think it would hurt. It would be inconvenient.
Yeah. Although you have to have like a mathematical formula in D&D for how high you can jump.
Yeah,
and then you have to look up the stat. It just wouldn't be worth it.
Well, no, you just say one of the features. I don't. Here's the thing: if your like archetypal feature was like you can now jump 3 times as high, would anyone be like, "Wow, wow, this opens up a world of opportunities"?
Everyone else is like, "Oh, I learned magic, even though I'm a fighter." Another person's like, "Well, I can assassinate people very easily," and you're like, "I jump real high." And they're just like, what, like an Olympic medalist? It's like not quite that high. Like it's I'm not allowed to enter any sort of jump based. So warm up segment aside, that was again. Thank you for indulging that chat. So I guess the first 2 kind of core questions then is like, so how long have you kind of been throwing stuff up into the DMs Guild, and what sort of things have you been throwing out there? Oh man, it's actually. In 2018, I started putting stuff up for free. It was literally just like, whenever we play a home game and I DM, people are allowed to pick their archetype and everything, but I also give them a bonus one that is based on their character's backstory called their Destiny archetype. And it basically offers some additional options and stuff. So I would make custom archetypes based on those destinies, and I put them up on the guild, and they were just for my friends to have as like a little thing. Mm-hmm. I think it was actually Robert Davis who put up a post about in like late 2018 being like, don't put your stuff up for free. It's worth something. Even like the smallest thing is worth 50 cents. Stop putting them up for free. And I was like, yeah, you know what? It's right. I'll change everything to $1, and massively changed how I made content because suddenly I had a budget. So suddenly I could afford to like buy stock art and everything. And
Yeah, that's been kind of just the escalation of things. Thank you very much, Robert Davis, if you're out there.
Yeah, good old Bob. I'm fascinated about the idea of like, what was it like creating personalized subclasses, kind of like for your friends and stuff like that. Was it like how did that exactly come about? Was it the idea that like friends were like giving you their backstory and you're just like the existing archetypes didn't quite fit what they were going for? Or?
It was I've been the luckiest dungeon master in the world. I'm sorry to everyone else out there. I've had the best players, and that's just how it was.
I mean, someone out there has to have them, and it was you. It was just.
I've only ran games for good friends. So in college we started running our first game together. No one had played before, so it was perfect. And people gave me these incredible backstories. 8 people handed in 8 incredible backstories, and I was like, these are too good. So I started off with just like everyone got this one additional feature based on their backstory. And then we hit level 5 and I was like, everyone's still pursuing their backstory goals. Everyone's still really invested in following their narratives. So I gave everyone the second one that they unlocked.
Yeah.
And it just escalated from there. And eventually I was like, I'll just match them to a certain, not even like their subclass archetype, but just to like a general leveling of like 1, 5, 11, 18, I think it is. That was the original like destiny line. And so it wasn't like it replaced their archetype. It was actually just like additional stuff they got.
Yeah, like boons and feats.
Yeah, we had a cleric of the light domain, and she just was obsessed with dragons. So she got like her first bonus was just like advantage on persuasion checks with dragons, and then her like big 18 one at the end of the campaign was like summoning a dragon for the final battle.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible! Wow, and I do love hearing the stories about like, especially when it comes to like designing like bespoke things for like a particular table. And then so it was literally a case of like you were sort of putting these together, and then you're just like, well, this DMsGuild thing exists. I should kind of throw them out there, and then
and Matthew Mercer shouted about it, and I think when it first came out, I think DMsGuild is much older than 2018, but.
Not by much, I don't think. I think it's like 2017, 2016, I think. Just because I funny enough, I think we found out that one of Matt Mercer's like aside from the art packs and stuff like that, I think Matt Mercer's products was one of the first, if not the first products on the DMsGuild.
Yeah, I do remember like watching Critical Role years ago and him saying it and going on and literally going to the new releases, scrolling for like maybe 30 seconds and reaching the end of DMsGuild.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that's it. Okay, cool. That was fun. But you could never reach that back anymore. There's just infinite now.
No. I mean, like it used to be the case where like I feel like an old man now. Back in my day, you would watch the new tab and it would move like 3 or 4 titles a day. And the influx now is huge. Yeah, there's but it's great. I mean, it kind of shows that I guess rising popularity of D&D. Again, I don't know if even you can call it that anymore. It's in the zeitgeist. Everyone's playing D&D.
Yeah, I do love it though, because it used to be very kind of samey, but there's so many new voices and so many new takes on things. Like there's some great content coming out.
Yeah, no, and it's always kind of fascinating to kind of hear about all the stuff that people are kind of like working on. So it kind of started then with these sort of archetypes, or sort of like bonus kind of tailored features. What was kind of like your creator journey? Like, so was it kind of you kind of stuck to like subclasses? Because I know looking at your catalog and stuff like that, you've got like some whole classes as well. You've got a little bit of like alternate roles. You've got
I do, and I'm criminal for it. Every time I promised myself that I would break up all my archetype projects with a different type of project, because if I don't do that, I end up just making archetype books forever, because I just love it. I love sitting down. I love making new archetypes. I got into class design because of a friend. He wanted to play a Soul Reaper from the anime Bleach, and I was like, that's cool. That is an incredible idea for a character. And just because I didn't want everyone to feel fantasy and him to feel just otherworldly, we made like some compromises, and we made a conversion called the Grave Warden that was like kind of like Faerun lore friendly.
Yeah.
And that was my first class, and I had such a fun time making it that I started making classes as well as archetypes. I've made a few parodies like that. I do enjoy like a parody of the Marvel Avengers in one of my books and stuff. But I think the only thing I don't make a lot of, I make some of everything, items and all that. Adventures I don't make a lot of because I just don't. I would kudos to everyone who can make adventures out there. I feel like if someone critiques my classes or archetypes, that's fine. Don't really care. But if someone was like, "Your adventure's bad," I'm like, that hurts personally. Like that's like writing. It feels like more, I don't know, more sensitive.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, to us, it's. Yeah, I basically I'm trying to unpick that, but I was like, I can't really. So I think it kind of depends because like I think people kind of find different levels of attachment, like different types.
Yeah.
It's weird how you can feel like with classes and subclasses. I think because there's a good amount of numbers involved, and it feels more it being more mechanics driven kind of lines itself to be like, okay, yeah, there's going to be some people who throw the numbers into a spreadsheet and they're just like, this seems a little iffy. You can't really do that with adventure. Obviously, you can do like some of the encounters, but it's like it doesn't. It's more the sort of I guess I was about to say not art, like not, but I see what you mean. It's kind of like more that side than. One thing I did want to ask though is how do you find the difference between subclasses and whole classes, like? Obviously, the design process behind them are, I imagine, quite fairly different.
Yeah, I think if you take an archetype and you balance it against like a normal archetype, not like some of the ones that are notoriously broken. Yeah. Looking at you, Moon Druid. Oh. But I think with classes, you go in knowing that 90% of the DMs, like not even DMs community, the D&D community are going to look at that class and be like, no. Off the bat, because people like the original 11 and I think most people at this point like the Artificer, but whenever someone brings a new class to the table, even my friends who support me making classes, when they DM and someone brings a class to their table, they are so like, no. So I always feel like class design, you should have fun with it. It should feel unique. It shouldn't just be like, this is an intelligence-based sorcerer. It's like, don't bother. There's no point in making that. Make something fun, unique, and expect everyone to hate it because.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on like a really interesting point that I don't know what it is about classes, but they seem to get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, a new magic item, sure. New archetype, sure. Adventure, sure. But the classes just. No. They throw out the balance for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. I guess I don't know. I mean, like here's the thing. I don't fundamentally. I feel like people on the side of like the pre-existing classes because they're like, oh, it's gone through like countless hours of like playtesting and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like the same with like bringing in like a custom like subclass versus bringing in a whole custom class. There's not much leeway. Like fundamentally, there's not. Well, there's some difference, but I'm curious then. So, like, is there anything that you do in particular to balance your classes, or is it more the case of like you just want to make sure that they capture the essence of whatever it is that you're going for?
Well, yeah, I do tend to lean on capturing the vibe of the character first. I made a class called Polymorph, and it was all about changing your body parts into animal ones, kind of like half druid.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend Connor, just amazing content creator. He has a spreadsheet where he mathematically calculated the max damage of every class and subclass from the official sources in over 1 round and over 10, and then like averages of that. And like based on what spells they can and everything, it's just like it's a ridiculous little spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And he showed me how to put like my own one into it to like check like where it falls. And let me tell you, sorcerers just absolute number machines. Just
fair. You know what? I'm actually like again. I'm baffled by the sort of design that would have to go in creating a spreadsheet that takes into account all the vastly like. I think do you just look at like the most powerful spell at each level in terms of like DPS output?
Yeah, I think that was the idea. Or like if I think took into account spell slots too.
Wow.
I mean, and when I put the polymorph through, it turns out I made something that was half as strong as the weakest existing class. And I was like, oh great, I've made this really thematic worthless thing. So I just had to bump the damage.
Yeah.
And for another one, it was like almost met the highest sorcerer, but it was martial, so that had to be brought back because obviously martial shouldn't really be doing that.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I don't balance very well. I usually go for flavor and then check this little spreadsheet that someone was kind enough to give me.
Yeah. No, I don't. Again, it's one of the cases where so much of it is like fine tuning, and like the problem I find when it comes to like subclass balancing or anything like that is the fact that it depends so much on like the encounter you throw at them, their surrounding party. Like a class that is designed to sort of bolster other people's healings is probably fantastic in like, you know, a team of paladins, but you know, just throw them in a group with nothing but, I don't know, rangers. I don't know who I want to pick on, but yeah, they could have like a completely different experience. So I guess fundamentally the one thing you don't really want is one class to outshine or, you know, lead the way. But so much of that is like, again, like, I don't know, like, I feel like if anyone's ever been in that position where you feel like you're leading the DPS and stuff out, or you're having like all the cool moments in a combat,
yeah,
you kind of, you like mediate yourself to be like, I'm gonna hold back a little bit, or, you know, I'm gonna take more sort of assisting actions.
Yeah,
a bit of a weird one.
The table I'm currently DMing for, everyone's a half caster, like every single person, except one person who's a full caster, and they're basically a god among men because they can like rip open the fabric of reality, and everyone else is like fireball. It's like not the same level of power.
Yeah, I do like the idea of like half casters where they reach the sort of that level pick of like fireball, and then just like the dedicated spellcaster be like, oh, I've been doing that for a while. Like, no, so I guess. Is there out of the classes you have designed, is there like a particular sort of mechanic or feature that you kind of like you're particularly proud of, like something you want to shout out?
Okay. It would be kind of a toss up between the Grave Warden's, you know, bonded weapon, which is basically at level 1 you get a very basic magical weapon, and as you level it gains new properties. That actually turned into a separate book called Awakened Blades. It's like a magic item collection. Yeah. But I think like the actual best one will be the Duelist's additional reactions, and then all the class features are actually based on using these additional reactions to do different things.
Oh, awesome!
So on its turn, it can attack like twice. So it's you know, it's like the Barbarian or whatever, or Paladin. It just makes 2 simple attacks. But then when it gets attacked, it could use like a first reaction to reduce the attack to a miss. And now that something missed it, it can use its reaction to make a counter strike that does a lot more damage.
Yeah, I must say, I do like all the stuff that kind of gives like added bonuses and stuff like that. Like I've been playing like a paladin with shield mastery, and I just love having access to more reactions and stuff like that. Like most classes, they rarely really have it outside of like attack of opportunities.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of, again, like the idea you have of a duelist, is yeah, it's like hyper reactionary.
Yeah,
it's, you know, parries, counters, and all that. So that's really clever.
I really wish, like, I love D&D's combat because it's easy for someone to learn. It's like, oh, it's your turn, do this, you're done, great. But I wish for an RPG or like our D&D rule set where things were a little more like someone has hit you, you know. Can you use your reaction for like a certain things? Just like something.
Like Magic the Gathering, essentially, you have like a spell stack of like 7. So this paladin has used their bolster move. I think like there are certainly tables for it and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm sure like high level encounters when you get into like a counter spell duel, or everyone's busting off like prepared spells.
We had I think it was 5 counter spells in a row. It was like cast a spell, counter, maybe 4 in a row. And it was like, look, if anyone messes up their roll, I don't know what's going to happen.
Honestly, I feel like at that point, like it's like when that much counterspell is in the air, you kind of have to roll at least a few times on the wild magic table.
Yeah,
I feel again that there's no way that all this magic just being dispersed into the air is going to be good for the environment and all the people.
There's someone like just a little kid suddenly becomes like a level 20 fighter. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. It's a lot of magic in the air.
Or gets turned into like a potted plant. That I think that by far that's my favorite, the potted plant one.
We had a sorcerer and they just won like this massive battlefield of like thousands against thousands, and as he's like walking around, he just suddenly turns into a potted plant. It's like, it's not exactly the epic victory speech he wanted to give, but it was appropriate.
Yeah, no, again, you messing with magic you don't understand. That's what happens. This is why wizards go to school. You know, this is why education's important.
First lesson: how to not turn into a potted plant. Day one.
And then what is it? They look across the classroom and there's like 7 potted plants in the chair. It's like, guys, come on now.
What a great prank though! If you're going to school for the first time,
you just bring a potted plant with you,
and then cast invisibility. You're like, really?
Yeah. All the teachers spend their whole time trying to turn this potted plant back into someone, and it's like never was someone to begin with. That it ends up with this human or this potted plant that now gets to spend a few seconds being human.
I love have you ever seen that D&D like tech story where someone's like, I was playing a mannequin that got turned into a person, and my friend was playing a sorcerer. First roll of the night, it was wild magic, and it was like anti-magic field. Oh. The person just turned back into a mannequin. Like,
end of campaign.
Yeah, that was it. Solved it.
Geez, that's a sucky way to die. Yeah, I suppose again, yeah, I suppose that's when your entire essence is based on magic. I feel like you would have to like, I don't know, do some rules to be like, and now the magic returns.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, no, you're a mannequin now. That's it. So I did also want to chat a little bit about your restful roles.
Wow.
Wait, does that feel like a little bit of a throwback, or is that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Early 2018.
Jeez, well, also in the timeline and stuff like that. So was this one of these sort of like interim projects that you kind of had?
Yeah, that was. I had a player very interested in downtime activities, and I think this is before Xanathars, so they were terribly boring. So I just made a few things like during a short rest, you could like work out, and that would give you like a bonus to strength checks.
Yeah,
like super simple little things that might like inspire people to do some role play. Like someone is adding to their map, and it's like this magical map that keeps track of stuff, and maybe that will get someone talking, and just things to encourage people to like talk more during short and long rests.
Yeah,
so they feel like something happened, and it's not just you press the heal button on your character and suddenly you're good.
Sleepy time button. No, I'm always kind of fascinated by sort of like I guess alternate rules, or and I must admit, when I was looking at Rushmore, I wasn't. I must admit, I probably should start checking the date on some of these things that I could have thought. So it sounds like your design process very much kind of stems from your own table.
Yeah, like whatever I think they're looking for, I just assume that like, maybe other people want that. It's probably the easiest way of going about it.
Yeah.
It's that, or just like getting obsessed with like I just saw the Avengers movie. That was awesome. I'll make them all into archetypes. Like that is it.
I mean, I think I spoke to this about Brittany, who kind of they made like a Captain America subclass and stuff.
Yes.
Was it like I think like America's ass being one of the abilities, I think.
Oath of Liberty, was that her one?
Yeah, with the sort of, and I mean, it goes without question and stuff like that. There are always going to be the sort of players who come to a table and they're just like, I want to be Iron Man. And it's like I'll give it like my own unique flair, but fundamentally that's who I am. I have a player who's actually, I don't know if you've read the Name of the Wind books, but he's just Kavoth from Name of the Wind. He was like, I just want to be that character. So all the villains from that book, I was like, well, here we go. Well, you just literally like borrowed them.
I took them like name for name out of the books, but the book, they don't have any powers or anything. They're very like kind of obscure, and there's not much known about them. So I got to like have my own little fun with them. But
Yeah.
he just wanted to be Kavoth, and I was like, sure, absolutely.
No, I mean, well, yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, like, again, there's, I think I've spoken a few times about, like, there's so much inspiration out there. And like, again, I think there's a saying somewhere about, like, the best art is always stolen. I don't know.
Oh, good artists create, great artists copy. Is that it? Something like that?
Something like that. You know, I just want it to justify my kleptomaniac tendencies.
as you're being dragged out of like a store, you're like, no, I'm an artist.
I'm an artist. I need this. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I feel like, again, anything in the name of art you can get away with. Murder.
Yeah.
I'm an artist. It's art. You have to let me go. So I imagine it's quite a different design challenge going from, like, basically just trying to come up with, let's say, like a particular archetype to having essentially a existing character that you kind of have to distill their core features into sort of keystones. Was there any sort of I guess, yeah, if we take Marvelous Archetypes, was there any character that was, like, particularly hard to try and bring across?
There were a couple that the problem with comics is everything seems to fall into sorcerer. There was, like, a whole challenge of, like, okay, all of these people fly around and shoot energy, like Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So it came down to, like, how do I make any of this, like, very deliberately like nondescript stuff, you know, fit into, like, a box that is also going to work for the lore?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was always a big concern. I want someone to be like, I can play Captain America, and it fits right in next to, like, everybody else at the table.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel like a comic book character in like, if your whole table is grim fantasy.
Yeah.
You want to line up well. So trying to make a druid or a wizard out of, like, some of the stuff was just, it was a real slog. So I think in the end I just decided that I'd rather have a good Captain America and a good, like, Black Panther. If they were all fighters, fine, as long as they were good. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, you can kind of force things otherwise. No, yeah, just because, like, I feel like depending on, like, how you do it and stuff like that, like, I could feasibly see ways of taking the sort of archetype Iron Man and applying. Again, you have the artificers, a no-brainer. Fighters, kind of something of a no-brainer. I feel like you could probably, like, stretch it and make it like a druid. Like
oh yeah, like the wild shape armor.
Yeah, you get a little bit funky with it. And yeah, so I feel like, especially, like, what's kind of great about it is when you take the sort of essence of the character and you try and distill it into, like, a subclass, you have, like, so many different directions to go in.
Yeah.
And yeah, you probably, again, if you wanted to, you could probably have the 11 classes all representing Iron Man in some weird way, and each would be, you know, distinct and kind of have their own flavor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think
go ahead.
I was gonna say it always seemed better because with Iron Man, you know, always creating all these different types of suits.
Oh yeah.
So you just have it in there, you know. Barbarian is like the Hulk smasher, you know.
Oh my god, that's actually great.
Like,
it's actually super.
But again, that one you can have.
Oh, thanks. Coming this fall, as soon as I get through all my other projects.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, it's probably fall, like, 2025.
Yeah, I said fall, and I went, like, immediately in my head, I was like, yeah, you wish.
Yeah. No. So sorry, you were saying before though.
Oh, just that in the most recent one, there was a big kerfuffle. I did a sequel to Marvelous Archetypes based on the X-Men, and that was just kind of a solo project. And I was going to do one more, just the third one, based on just, like, whatever was left over, because X-Men and the Avengers seem to make up a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a lot of kind of duplicates after that.
Yeah.
And I said,
who are you missing? Like the Fantastic Four? Like,
yeah. And then some of those Fantastic Four actually just already exist as, like, an X-Men and stuff.
Oof.
Yeah, the power is kind of copy and paste after a while. But for a good final goodbye, I was like, what if I, you know, invited everyone who kind of, you know, wanted to make more comic book characters. So that's what the third one's going to be, coming out, like, this year, which is, like, a huge collection of, like, 60 superheroes.
Oh, wow.
But I said, oh yeah, I'm making Superman. He actually works really well as a barbarian. Chaos. The chat just became chaos for the next, like, 60 minutes. I was like, how can he be a barbarian? That doesn't make any sense. He has to be a paladin. And someone was like, no, that's just his beliefs. He's got to be a sorcerer. And I was like, I'm just going to step away for, like, 5 minutes.
I I mean, that's exactly the point. It's like it depends on like what you're trying to like. If you are trying to get like his ideology, yeah, Paladin kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
If you want to get like what he's an alien, so again he has like these innate things, sorcerer. But yeah, fundamentally he is just a big, strong flying dude who fires lasers. That's pretty barbarian.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, well, when he goes in a rage, he flies and he punches higher than he lasers. I was like, cool, Superman done. I didn't think I was causing World War III.
Yeah, geez. So I guess I'm curious. Did you just sort of like as project leader, did you kind of put your foot over? Superman's going to be a barbarian, or like how like no spoilers, but where has he fallen in the whole?
Well, when I said he was going to be barbarian, I'd already finished the subclass. So I'm very non-confrontational when it comes to like people that I'm going to assume are nice. Like I'm always gonna assume people are nice first.
Yeah.
So and everyone on the project is super lovely. So I just didn't respond until someone else was like, "Oh, I'm making Aquaman of this," and then they kind of were like talking about that, and I was like, "I got away with it."
Yeah.
People won't get mad at me now. I'll just keep moving.
No, I mean, but that's kind of what's great is the fact that it still kind of opens itself up, and there may be down the line someone reading, the third Marvel's Archetypes being like, oh, Superman is a barbarian. That's not quite right. And then they go away and they make their own subclass. They throw up in the DMsGuild, and the cycle continues. And someone going about like a paladin.
It's gonna be the endless war that no one cares or knows about.
I'm trying to think of like any class that he's not a rogue. I think that's one that you probably get away with it.
Yeah, a wizard, probably not.
Not the most wizardly. Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a fun sort of thought exercise to kind of like take those characters and try and like sort of break them all down.
I occasionally do. I do remember that when I released Marvelous Archetypes 1, it got into the top 10 somehow. It was me and my wonderful partner Dan drunk one night after seeing the Avengers, and we just wrote them all out, and like the next day I put it up. It was back when like I didn't edit and I didn't really do much to layout. I just, because no one cared.
Yeah.
And very suddenly it hit number 10 in DMsGuild. And I received a Twitter message from someone who was absolutely furious with me because I had put Spider-Man as a monk. And
so here's the thing. I thought you were going somewhere else with that and stuff like that. But no, it's fundamentally people just like they have their headcanon of like what the class.
He was personally offended. He was like demanding an apology. He was pointing out like things that were wrong with other ones. It was an essay this person had sent me. And if you're out there, I'm not unblocking you, and I will never respond. I never do. I block everybody who starts stuff.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know how I would respond to that, but I think it would be a equivalent of like, cool. Just cool.
Thumbs up.
Thanks. Or you did hit him with the thank you for your patronage. Dude, I feel like we've uncovered something that a fundamental like truth that people will never agree on is.
People have like you said, their headcanon on it. Anything else is hostile and wrong, and they must know it's hostile and wrong.
I must admit, before I didn't know I was asking such a controversial figure onto my podcast.
Yeah. I wish I screenshotted the message because I kind of want it as like it was the first ever hate mail I got on DMsGuild. Sure. Never forget it.
I do. I must admit, I think I've made the thing online that like I'm still kind of searching for my like DMsGuild nemesis. I haven't got one yet. And stuff like
I mean, you know what? 10 years from now, if you and me don't have nemesis, we'll do it.
I like the idea of like superheroes who kind of have that pact of just like, listen, I need everyone has their own arch nemesis, and if I don't have one, one of us will turn evil.
Yeah,
and we can at least be. Yeah. Oh, that's So superheroes to one side. I'm curious then about like as when you're sort of creating a particular project and as you're kind of working through, is there like a part that kind of stands out as your favorite?
Oh man, it's the chaos in the beginning.
Yeah,
I can do 90% of a project in 10% of the time, and then do 90%. Then the last 10% takes 90% of the time because I'm just really bad at finishing off projects.
Yeah.
I honestly, I've started a new system where I'll say I'm going to do 20 in a book collection of archetypes, just so I can cut off the last 5 when I realize I've burnt myself out. Because I'll like last night I wrote like 12 new ones.
Jeez.
Just because I've got something coming up and I wanted to like just really jump into this one while I had the inspiration. This morning, I have absolutely no desire to write the last 2.
Yeah.
So I'm good at the beginning. I'm terrible at the end.
Yeah, no, I guess it is kind of like fascinating, and I imagine. So, is this with typically writing archetypes? I think there is the sort of the added benefit of them being quite formulaic.
Yeah.
Which I imagine kind of helps. It helps because again, once you know, like paladins get the aura at this level, they get this, and it's only like if you kind of want to stick to that, that's kind of easy, and then you have the opportunity to kind of like steer away from like not class tropes. I don't know, like feature. I don't know what to.
Yeah, I mean, people are so set in their ways that I once changed the potent spellcasting that clerics get, which is the same for every cleric, or they get like a divine strike or something.
Yeah,
I changed that to a completely new feature, and I got a comment, and it was a book of like 20 archetypes, and the comment was just like, clerics don't do this. And like that was it. That was the one thing they had a problem with, and I was like, okay, I'll just fix it.
I guess it is a case of like people are so set in their ways, and then I guess you do have the added benefit of like by leaning into these, I don't not stereotypes. I don't know what to call it. Like the just like innate features that are like.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Let's just call them like the features.
Like the focus of the class, almost like what it's built around.
Like the class identity is these sort of things. And by leaning into them and stuff like that, you kind of do have that added benefit of like, well, if it's in par with these, then you kind of know you're kind of like you're not going off the sorcerer end of the overpowered spectrum.
Yeah.
No, fair. No, it's and I do 100% agree with you in that sometimes it is the finishing of a project, just because it is a case of like striking while the iron's hot, and the inspiration is like when you come up with a cool idea, it's easy to kind of just tear into that idea, and that's why with adventures it is very much like you come up with like a really cool encounter and you write all that and you write it all out and then it's like. Then you have to do like the introductory chapter where it's just kind of like it's like a new way of kind of rehashing what you've written in a later chapter, but you kind of need to have it all up. Maybe you don't have to, and maybe there's but I kind of like to write sometimes in like a chronological order. So sometimes I write the introduction first, and then obviously the product changes as I'm writing it. But then I have to go back and revisit it, and that part sucks. The part where you're just like, why, what future, like past Matt was a bit of an ass.
Oh yeah, I'm constantly suffering because of past Darren's short-sightedness.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I said, I tend to let past Matt off quite often because I know sometimes I give future Matt a hard time.
Okay, you know what? In the timeline, you gotta scale and balance.
I could be mad at past Matt, but then I just know future Matt's gonna hate me in the future. It's a never-ending cycle. I guess would it be safe to assume that then your least favorite part of the project is fundamentally that last 10% then?
It is the advertising, because when you don't have a large follower count, advertising is like screaming into a void, and sometimes you scream into the void and get this incredible response, and sometimes you scream into the void and nothing happens. So advertising I just find to be the worst.
Yeah.
And I thankfully have learned to do my own layout for the most part. But bothering editors, like saying, hey, does anyone want to edit something? I hate it. I hate making someone suffer through my first draft.
I was gonna say I was about to say it's not suffering, but then I'm literally exactly the same. Of like, I'm so sorry. There's gonna be like 300% more commas than there needs to be. I have a problem, but this is now your problem.
Yeah, I've started heavily going through my own work before giving it to an editor because I just want to make the job a little bit less painful for them.
Actually, I had some of the best advice I ever got was from Justice, who once told me to put my writing through a text-to-speech editor. Because again, it's just like just hearing a voice kind of talk out loud and stuff like that. Like even when you're kind of saying it itself, because it's your own words, you're saying it in your own sort of cadence. When you have like an AI or a robot trying to just struggle through your words, you realize the sentences that are a little bit fluffy.
That is a great piece of advice.
Yeah. I'd like to say I'm not sure how well it translates over to sort of like mechanics and systems. I don't know how like Siri would say 3d6. They might handle it fine. There may be a few words where they just
I would be surprised if Dungeons and Dragons wasn't so popular that 3d6 was a thing, like they had programmed it to say very well.
Yeah. But yeah, was it anytime you get like the voice text to speech to say 3d6, it just rolls it automatically. So it just gives you a random number. It's just like, wow, that's useful. I think I don't know.
I think Google Home can do that. So if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with just Google Home, you can do it.
Dude, that would be really cool. Like you'd have to play. I feel like if I had like a Google Home or something like that, I would be tempted to give them a character sheet and then have them 1 week be like a fifth character, who's just like a disembodied entity who just comes in and just does like a robot. They have to be a robot.
Got to be like a Warforged artificer. Just pure machine.
They do not talk. They take orders, and whatever you tell them to do, they do.
Yeah. Love it.
Wow. So that's some of my plans for the future are kind of all sorted. I have to go fetch a Google Home and play D&D with it.
I mean, if you get like an Alexa as well and set up Siri somewhere, you can have like a full team.
Oh, I think that doesn't sound depressing and lonely at all.
That is the most 2020 energy, trapped at home with your devices.
Yeah. No, Siri, you can't do that. You've already used your bonus action.
We're this close to a robot uprising, so we got to get them on the same team.
Yeah. I suppose D&D is the way to connect, bridge the gap. So I guess across everything that you've done, then, is there any particular lessons that you kind of wish you'd learned a little bit earlier?
I'm sad to say it's a lesson I forgot, because in the very beginning, I was making stuff because I enjoyed it. It was fun. And I didn't really care I never cared about sales, medals, or anyone even seeing the product. I just liked doing it. And I think for like a large section of 2019, I cared so much about this needs to be successful. This needs to do this. And then I finally got a product and it did really well. And I just realized I don't care. I went back and I was like, you should be making stuff for you that you enjoy making, that you like sharing, that you think people enjoy. And if no one downloads it and no one cares, you should still feel so great that you made something.
Yeah.
So I've gone back to that, and I love content creating again. I got so hung up on stuff, and now I just think people should enjoy it. First thing you should be doing is enjoying it. No,
I'm kind of chuffed to hear that. You managed to find your mojo again. Just because I think DMsGuild again, it is a platform that again keeps track of numbers and stuff like that. Again, it's the fundamental thing of like, oh, I see a number and I want it to go up, or I see a shiny copper, I want it to be shinier and stuff like that. That it is, it's easy to kind of like conflate your ideas of like worth with that of a product and stuff like that. But I guess one thing that I'm trying my best to try and keep on top of is kind of what you say, like, there's a reason why things like the RPG workshop and stuff like that kind of emphasize just putting something out there. And through all my effort and stuff like that, even if it didn't reach some arbitrary sales goal or whatever it is, there is now something out there that I made, and that that exists for as long as the internet does, which again maybe until the end of this year, who knows.
Robot uprising any day now, but at least the robots will have your content.
And if I teach them how to play in D&D, they might only have my adventures to play, and they won't have a choice.
You're going to become like the original author of D&D if everyone else gets wiped out.
So this is I'm sure the only problem is what the robots may have access to, like an offline server of Wikipedia, so they may be able to fact check what I'm saying. I'll just say it's art.
I'm doing into.
Oh yeah.
This is art. I'm pretending to be the creator of Dungeons and Dragons for your benefit.
As they drag you off to be
yeah.
harvested, you can just keep saying it's art, and that'll make it okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know, I think I'm coming away from this podcast that come whatever happens, I'm an artist. You know, I can do anything in the name of art. I cannot be stopped.
The laws don't apply to me. Yeah. I can do what I want.
This is this podcast is going to be swiftly followed by Matthew Whitby, age 25, has been found arrested.
Or like just as the FBI wants to join the Zoom call, like, oh no.
It's fine. I won't do any crimes, but I will do some art. So I guess to kind of pivot away then from the the kind of talk about your creative process and everything that you've kind of done in the past. Looking more to the future and the community as a whole, then, is there do you have a set dream project, or like something that you've kind of said maybe I'll save for later?
I do, and I'm doing it, and it's going to be my swan song before I probably just move on to the next thing that I'm going to get obsessed with. I'm making my own game, and I have been for on and off 2-3 years, but like very early concepts, 2018, some actual stuff being put together like 2019, but it's weird to have it like so close to completion. So it's called Fallen Worlds. I advertised it like recently for the first time. Mm-hmm. Beautiful artwork. Oh my god, by Marcel. Oh my god. I'll share it after this with you.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I believe I saw it in your Twitter and stuff like that. No, it's sort of it got the sort of big gate feel.
Yes. It's when he showed me that, I was like, this is so much better than everything I sent you. Like every idea I had, this is better. And it's basically set in a world where take a typical fantasy society like the ones from the Faerun universe. Mm-hmm. They rose through things where they got electricity, motorized vehicles, firearms, and they had that kind of ascension, and they peaked, and they did something terrible, which opened a gateway to a new plane of existence, which just swept forth and totally corrupted their source of magic. It devastated their world. So it's kind of like post-apocalyptic, but there's parts of the world that were fortunate enough to be far enough away, so they're kind of still good.
Yeah.
So it's got this great like mix of things that you can't really get in D&D, like robotics and firearms. A great struggle against corruption in like these just morbid wastelands, but also you could still be, you could just be a bunch of villagers with swords fighting in the woods if you want. So it's got a great variety.
Oh, awesome. So it kind of depends on like how close you are to this sort of like cataclysmic event that you kind of tailor your experience.
Almost, like in MMOs, I don't play much of them, but I've seen a few where it's like level 60 zone and then level 58 and like level 57, and it gets like the further away from that like center point of chaos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And I've got a few unique systems where instead of subclasses, you're mixing like your character's profession with your evolution, and your evolution is basically what makes you special. So like you could be a gunslinger. Take the most like firearms example.
Yeah.
And either maybe you were cursed by demons, so you have a shade curse, and it's all like using demonic powers, or the exact opposite, where you're like chosen by a god, so almost like a paladin cleric vibe, or like telekinetic, or lycanthropy or vampirism. So you basically take your standard person, put them through an evolution, and you end up with this like super fun character design, and I just can't wait to show people.
No, that sounds awesome. I love the idea of like sort of like mix and match systems. They kind of again give you just by the nature of them, they give you almost infinite possibilities.
Yeah, I haven't done the number crunch on it, but I know that if mixing just profession and evolution, there's so many options, and like depending on the evolution you take, your profession can go so differently. Like if you're a berserker, you probably want to be telekinetic and using shields so you can like soak up more damage. But if you're a gunslinger, you just want to add to that damage. So there's loads of variety.
So I wanted to clarify as well. So is this this is a whole new setting and stuff like that with a whole sort of built-in new system as well from the ground up?
Yeah, it is a brand new game and not based on an existing one. I did make it familiar enough to D&D where if you've played a lot of D&D, there's maybe like 30 minutes of learning to kind of adjust. But if you were taking this as your first ever game, I wanted to make it accessible too. So a lot of the stuff in D&D that is needlessly complex has been like streamlined and straightened out. So yeah, so there's some things that are different, but you play D&D, it'll feel familiar enough. And if it's a new game, hopefully I'm doing my best to make it like accessible.
Nice. No, for that. And it's kind of, so what's your plan for release, if you don't mind me asking?
We're going to be putting up the Kickstarter probably in the next month or so.
Okay, fine.
And that will determine a few things about like release, because obviously the more success it is, the quicker I can get it done. And I would love to bring on more people. There's some people in like the DMsGuild community who are so talented at like certain things. I would love to bring people on to write like a few adventures to come with the book, because I'd hate to just hand people the book and be like, write your own story. I'd like, to be able to like hand a few adventures to people.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to make it so as much of the play experience is kind of contained within this.
Yeah. Also, I was trying to like condense it to one book of like everything, but I think just based on like D&D is 3 whole books.
Yeah.
So I think I've got it down to like the running the game book and the players book, which kind of like should be enough.
I honestly think that that's like a fair balance of things. I think like again, you never want it to be the case where you just thunk and just having sort of player facing content and world runner or like DM facing content. I think is probably like the healthiest balance.
Yeah, I want it to be affordable. I'd honestly, if the Kickstarter was so successful, I'd give it for free just because I want to share it with people.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to happen. So so just.
But hey, touch wood. You never know. Listen, this there's weird energy in the world right now. So.
Well, true. Everyone else's misfortune in 2021 is like being transferred somewhere.
You get it all. You singly. What was it? You've already got the best player party. I think it's just the next sort of progression.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible. No, I wish you the best of luck with it, and I can't wait to sort of back it when it goes live.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
No, then I guess to kind of like again, so shifting more towards the community. Then, is there anyone in the kind of DMsGuild community that kind of particularly inspires you?
So, I saw this question on a previous episode, and I wrote like a list of names down. Of people, because there are so many great content creators on DMsGuild. Val Cyrene, Val does D&D.
Yeah.
He is not only an incredible content creator, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. Like genuinely just such a kind soul. Kai Linder is a genius. He, like should be president. I don't know. He's like his musical subclasses I'm obsessed with. He's making some of the best content out there. Seb, Curse of Sebs. Oh my God. I think all that matters in 2021 is that we keep Seb safe.
They are a beacon of light in this otherwise.
Yeah. If the Satan himself rises up, they are our champion. Seb is our champion against them. He is a pure light and goodness in human form.
I don't know. This sounds like a very weird way to just sacrifice people to Satan. Seb, this is you. This is you. This is all you, man.
Oh man, who else? Like Bob Davis put out his Toxandria campaign. God, like just out of nowhere, so incredible. Adam with his Supers and Sorceries book. Like people are doing amazing things out there. And I mentioned it earlier, I meant to go back to it. The Domestic Handbook by Sadie and her team. I'm sorry I don't have all the names. It just came to me while we were talking. Yeah. So the whole team behind the Domestic Handbook, incredible. Like those people are doing wonders.
No, I think you kind of like, again, right towards the start, you kind of touched on it yourself that the popularity of the DMsGuild have brought in an influx of incredible voices, and it's only really for the kind of platform's benefit that these people are getting a platform to kind of throw dope ass stuff out there.
Yeah, like we went from a game about like 5 years ago, D&D was slash goblins in a forest somewhere, and now like you got like Adam's book about kingdom building, like the all like the 3 or 4 handbooks of like mixing 2 races together.
Yeah, those goblins now have a family. And
yeah,
no,
half goblin, half dwarf families. What are you doing?
I think it is a case of like, eventually over time, and as games kind of have their longevity and stuff like that, and I think it's reaching like a point of maturity. You could argue and stuff like that. Like games, like video games as a whole, they kind of went through the point. TV films and stuff like that. You just kind of reach a point where there is a large saturation of people fighting goblins in caves that they're kind of looking to see kind of, what is the range of experiences they can have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And D&D is like, it is a combat game. There's like a single skill for like persuading someone not to be murdered. So it's never going to be the wonder that we all kind of want it to be. But I think there are people out there making D&D more than it ever was intended to be.
Oh, I know, yeah. I'm just. So then I guess looking at the time and stuff like that, we are quickly kind of approaching the hour mark. I guess dude. I mean, we can. I can chat. I can.
This has been an absolute pleasure. Time flew by.
Yeah. So this is because my podcast exists within a time bubble. Where that's it's a whole thing. It takes about an hour to explain.
Yeah, past Matt is currently working on shrinking it, and future Matt is expanding it.
Past Matt isn't doing his work.
Oh, that's
why. Future Matt is carrying this project. But then I guess to kind of like, so aside from your exciting Kickstarter project, anything else that you're kind of working on? And more importantly, the stuff you are working on, where can people hear about them and stay up to date?
Oh man, you can follow me on Twitter mostly. That's where I'm screaming into my void.
That is my designated void.
Yeah, it's just for me. It's like, hey, I made something, and then I just retreat into the shadows for 3 days because I don't like looking at the responses. Yeah, Delenia Creation, I think, is my handle on Twitter.
It'll be on page. There'll be somewhere in the link.
Great. I hate my own handle, but currently working on. I have a few bits and pieces. I'm writing for a Kickstarter, not my own, another person's Kickstarter, a book of cults. Currently leading Marvelous Archetypes 3.
Yeah.
Fallen Worlds being big dream project. That's most of my focus right now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I have,
running a Kickstarter. I can't imagine the work that kind of entails.
Yeah, and I realized that there's a particular reason that Wizards of the Coast made a full game and not just one guy in his spare time as like not even his main job, because so much work.
That's the guy's name, Wizard.
Oh, sorry, Wizard, middle of the last name, Coast.
Yeah, Mr. Coast made it all, literally.
Oh,
I heard he knocked it out on a weekend.
Don't do this to me. I'm sweating now.
Sorry, that's just evil. But yeah, no, so again, a bunch of kind of exciting DMsGuild products, and beginning to kind of again reach beyond.
Yeah, I know.
I do feel like that's almost like a sort of like the graduation step from the DMsGuild is when people go to Kickstarter. That's kind of like you've done your time on the DMsGuild. Now fly free.
I feel like I should have made something better before graduating. I feel like the kid who didn't really try hard enough before reaching graduation.
No, but no, like I said, I think it is the case of like, again, the DMsGuild, again, it's a fantastic place and stuff like that, but it's only for D&D stuff, and sometimes you gotta go spread your wings and create the content again you enjoy and the stuff that you want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
Honestly, Darren, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and have this chat.
It was an absolute pleasure, Matthew.
Yeah,
so lovely talking to you again.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome back anytime. But yeah, no, I guess I've been Matthew Whitby. You can find me at Whitby Writes. I've got some stuff coming out soon. Again, I never know when these podcasts come out, and who or what I'm doing. So who knows? If stuff is already out, I'll scream about it. If not, it's not out yet. It's not done.
Blame future Matt.
Yeah. Dude, I like it. I like present Matt gets all the best. I can blame past Matt if future Matt hasn't made any projects. That's on him.
And they can blame art. They can just say it's art, so there's no blame for Matthew at all.
There's the fallback, like everything is on the foundation of I'm doing art, therefore I could do whatever I want. And in that, there's like a sort of me pointing arrows to both the past, present, and future.
This is like it's a prank, bro, but it's way more sophisticated.
Yeah,
it's art, bro.
It's art. Like I get it. I can't explain art to you. You either get it or you don't. And that's why I'm stealing all these art supplies.
You can't be held accountable.
Yeah, I can't. No. So before I do actually get caught confessing to my crimes on a podcast, I feel like we should end the podcast.
Okay.
And for that, I'm going to take suggestions. Darren, how do you think we should end this podcast?
In 2020, it would only be settled with a fight to the death, and whoever won would be the new host.
Yeah. Okay, well,
you know what? It's 2021. So
do you want to meet in Tesco's car park in about 5 minutes?
I'll have to get a boat to England.
Oh,
so maybe 10 minutes. Just 10
minutes. 10 minutes is fine. Okay, cool.
You know what? It's 2021, so I'm just going to wish you the best, Matthew, because we need it.
Nice, and I wish you the best.